Let's deal with that as part of the discussion for today. This lawnmower is. Let's rise. Father of two on the right, Allah, Father of the universe, Father of love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. Allah is my protector, my guide, and my salvation. By night and by day, His holy prophet, noble Juali, Islam.
So I was saying this to Cujo because we've been talking about this whole aspect of exercising our right to travel. So we had an incident today when I went and got Cujo, policing forces in there, traveling on some indigenous plates, and they pulled us over. And then as I went to produce my right to travel card, he starts telling me about how he saw another card that had orange background, not green. He just pulled a guy over 2 weeks ago who had a
Card or the plate?
card.
A card.
When I gave him the right to travel card,
Yeah.
he said, I've seen one of these that has orange, not green. So what I'm showing you is that there are people that are using our nationality, making up their own shit, claiming to be us, and then painting us with this same brush. Because he gave me the example of how there's some guy who got pulled over, he got his plate, he got his license suspended on Ontario, so what they do is they go travel to Quebec, and then they go get their plate, they go get their license from Quebec, and then they come back and travel around in Ontario.
Yeah.
So what he's saying is that that's their end arounder at trying to get away from the suspension, which is really just about cash anyways, right? Some suspension, we want our money. But what I was saying to Cujo, this is how I say that it's all ordained, that people are out there using this for their own gain. And I was telling Cujo that it's the analogy of, let's say you have this avocado plant. If we let this avocado plant grow to 20 feet tall, we're gonna feed avocados will feed the whole village, right? But rather than letting it grow, I'm pulling off the leaves now and making tea with it. And I'm killing the plant. That's what the Moorish movement is. This is where the Moorish movement is right now. We need to keep feeding this. We need to keep feeding this, yes, with those people. We need to keep feeding this and letting it grow. Once it grows, and you know, in the summer or whenever it starts to spread its, when it flowers and it gives off things, and then you're gonna have a field of avocado trees. But guys on this are taking this right now.
At the same time, you could even get plants from it to start another one.
No, that's what I'm saying. That once it seeds, you're gonna have a whole forest of avocado trees. But what I'm saying is that what I've used this for the last 4 or 5 years, people are taking these things off right now as it is and boiling it for tea, rather than helping it grow. And that's what the problem is, that too many people, this is the problem with our people, that they're using this for nefarious activities rather than supporting it. It's really about what we're putting into it, not what we're taking out, right? Because once we put into it, it's gonna give us everything. Right? But people, because of our mindset, we're stunting the growth of it even before it's grown.
Right.
So yeah, anyways, I mean, we can talk about that. So we got pulled over, so they were then trying to hold us. They're like, you're a sovereign citizen. I said, I'm not sovereign. I said, I'm Aboriginal Indigenous. I'm like, oh,
that was immediately off the top.
Right?
We're sovereign.
Right? And then Cujo comes down, he's got his hat on. He's like, why is he wearing what's he doing with that hat on? Because it's
Trump hat, the Trump hat.
The Trump hat. He goes, why is he wearing the Trump? He's like, what the? He's like, that's all right. That's all right. He's like, I don't understand what's going on. He's like, how can you be wearing that hat? Right? He's like, he's like, okay. All right, we're all okay here. So then we start battling. So it's me and Cujo. I'm in the car. Cujo's out. Cujo's with the Hindustani guy. I'm with the European guy. I'm battling him down. Cujo's battling down. The European guy goes, hey, you guys move over there. He's like, I can't talk to this guy because Cujo's like, right? Cujo's getting left and right and left and right. So Cujo, we divide and conquer, right?
Yeah.
So Cujo takes the European, the Hindustani guy, I just see Cujo, let me take him off to the side and right. The Hindustani guy's like, right, ready.
Okay. So you can talk about your conversation with your boy or your tag teamer, and then I'll talk about my.
So then he's like, so what does he say to me? So he says to me, he's like, well, so let's use an example here. He's like, well, first of all, he's just going off about how there's all these different cards in there.
Yeah.
I said, well, listen, I don't care who those cards are. I said, I get it. I said, so you're right. So if I had an illegitimate Ontario license, you could arrest me. I said, but this is legitimate. I said, the rest of those guys are illegitimate. I don't know who they are, but I said, we're the legitimate people. I said, we're not sovereign citizens. I said, we're exercising our right to travel. And so then he's like, well, let's say that you had done a crime or something like that, you were trying to hide. Or I said, but that's not who I am. I said, I don't know what you're talking about, but that's not who we are and what we're doing. I said, and so then he asked me, and then he says to me, he's like, well, under the law, what does he say? He says, well, under the laws of Canada. I said, listen, Canada is a colony of England, right? He's like, no. He's like, we're not a colony anymore. He's like, we're free. I said, free? He goes, yeah, 150 years ago we were free. I said, bro, we still have a prime minister, right? I said, so that means that there's someone above him, right? He's like, well, no. He's like, well, no, it's not Canada. He's like, it's Ontario. I said, Ontario? I said, well, wait, Ontario was a land. There's a land here, and there were people here before you guys came here, right? He's like, yeah. He's like, but under the Highway Traffic Act. I said, the Highway Traffic Act is an act. I said, so I'm battling back and forth, but I realized too that you gotta be careful with these guys, right? Because once you start challenging them a little too much, they just shut down.
And then what he was making reference to was that, we get this all the time from these sovereign whatever, that you're gonna challenge whatever. And our thing to him was that, well, we're not challenging like that.
He's like, then he says to me, this is the building. He's like, well, that's why you're not lying on the floor in handcuffs right now. I said, well, yeah. I said, that's not what we're here for. I said, but we're here to stand on our right to travel. He's like, well, how do we know? He's like, well, who were you before this? No, he goes, this is how he tries to trap me. He's like, and this is what I remember talking. He's like, so where do you live? He's like, if someone wanted to, where would they say that you were living? I said, I live in my body. I said, I live in my body. Well, where are you living right now? I said, well, actually, my girlfriend. I said, I'm living at her place. He says, well, so you don't have an address? I said, I don't have an address. I said, the address is my body. Right? So then he's all stumped there, right? So he's like, okay, now where is it going? So he's like, then he says to me, he's like, well, listen, I don't really care. He's like, it's not about that for me. He says, it's like, I write the ticket, and then you go to court, and you go and you fight your court thing. So then I said, so wait a minute, if I'm in the court, and we fight the court thing, and we beat you, then what? And then he goes, well, until we get
something saying that, okay, leave you guys alone, we're gonna give you more tickets. Mm-hmm. And then was all right, then we'll just go to court and fight them again. All right. Right. And it's like, okay, well, how about then you give us our tickets, since you're saying that we don't have a license, we don't have we don't have whatever, because we're on the clock right now. We got somewhere to go. So just give us our tickets and then we'll go about. Well, okay, 1 second. So all we want to do is just understand what this is. Like, we just want to know what this is. Like, we don't understand why, so we're breaking down that, we're indigenous, we're Aboriginal. Well, you're supposed to be under the act. Well, if we're under the act, that's assimilation. Well, how is that assimilation? Because the act wasn't here before I was here. Like, I came here and then the act got put on me, and now you're telling me to go with the act. Well, that's the law. You have to go with the law. I'm like, okay, let me ask you a question. What's your nationality? I'm Indian. Oh, you're Indian. Okay. You know that's Hindustan, right? Oh. Yeah. Okay. So, all right. Good. So you know that India is originally Hindustan. Yeah. All right. So can somebody who's Hindustani be subject to Indian law? Because the Indian, that's the British, right? He's like, yeah, that's the British, right? So, well, you're making a moral argument here.
Yeah, that's where they're going with moral argument.
You're making a moral.
I said, so wait, moral. I said, isn't moral the highest thing? He's like, well, yeah, but there's laws. I said, wait a minute. No, he goes, there's legal stuff. He goes, well, we have to follow the legal constraints. I said, well, wait, the legal is subservient to law, right? I said, there's a law about legal. He's like, I said, those are just statutes, right? So then, we're battling back down. Now we got him in the corner, right?
Yeah.
So then I don't know.
And they brought the same thing. Okay, well, what you're doing is illegal because you should have Ontario plates and you should have whatever. All right, so what's the difference between illegal and unlawful? Well, there's no difference. They're both the same. How are they the same if illegal came after lawful? If illegal came after unlawful and legal came after law, how are they the same? Oh, this is just semantics now. We don't even have to talk about this because, the law is that, okay, so the Highway Traffic Act and the Constitution, which one is the higher law? Well, both of them are the same. Like,
Yeah, now we're in trouble.
Now we're in trouble. Because if they don't know, if they're not competent enough, they shouldn't even be in the uniform or whatever. But we know that they're not officers, they're public servants and all that stuff, so all they do is get hired for a job. But the good part about it was that they were receptive. And then they were receptive because of our approach to them.
Oh, they were making that very clear to us, and this is just a lesson to everyone listening, whatever, that they're like, well, it's not us. But you're gonna come across people that if you present this, and then they ask you for your corporate stuff, they're taking your conveyance, and they're towing it, and they're gonna arrest you. He's like, I just don't wanna see you guys run into that stuff. But that was some of the stuff that I've been talking to Kujo about, but that's the other part. So what they've done is they made sure not to inform, because we were talking about, so then we said, well, so how do we go about, because Kujo said, well, then we should need to sit down with you guys and be able to sit down and talk with you guys.
Yeah.
So we should be able to sit down and talk with you guys and straighten this out. He's like, well,
You don't want to talk to us.
you don't. So
Why do you want to talk to us?
You don't want to talk to us because we're. And I said, yeah. And I went to this. Yeah, because you guys are just the robots, right? And he's like, so he made that look that he knew exactly. These guys are just the thugs that they have out in the streets, looking to mess you up. Yeah. So just to let you know that this stuff is on, and then you were saying to Kujo, because remember you had your shirt.
Oh yeah.
So then he says, well, look, I got this. I'm not black, because I said to him, I said, when I was young, I said, I used to grow up and they used to call me black. I said, look, this is black. This isn't black, right? So then Kujo says, yeah, look, I got this shirt that says, right?
Yeah. And dude starts going off.
So he goes like this. He goes like this. Don't go down to the States. If you go down to the States like that, they're gonna shoot you. Don't go down to the States at all like that. With that hat and that shirt,
shirt, you're done for.
I'm like, where are we right now? What's going on here right now?
That's why I said it was the Twilight Zone. Huh? Yeah. That's why I said it was the Twilight Zone, because it was so in and out.
But then what he made clear to me was this. He's like, well, I just wanted, because he was an old guy, he grayed a beard. I said, I see you long in the tooth too. He goes, kind of. But he had all this gray, right? And he was all like, like how they do with the vests and stuff, and they have their hands in the vests. You know what I mean? What's going on inside? So then he's looking for something. So I go to reach for something. I said, sir, he's like, I'm not worried about you. I said, so I go like this, I'm just reaching, right? So I make it small. It's like, I'm not worried, bro. So then,
so we were talking about the whole status thing, and we're nationality, and we're not black or whatever like that. So one of them was Hindustan, and then one of them was European. So if I ask you what your nationality is, you're not going to say you're white, are you?
Well, I saw in his eyes. First thing I saw in his eyes that he didn't want to say he was white, because remember, white's where it's at.
This is where the status is.
But he goes, what is it? He said no. He said no. I got a nationality.
Yeah. And then I pointed at Omar and the Hindustani, because they were both the same complexion.
Both
of them are the same complexion. So how come you're gonna call that guy black, and then you're not gonna call him black?
And you saw the cops. You saw both cops. Both of them. And you realize that the European would never call his boy black.
But hear what the European said. Oh, we wouldn't call him black. We'll call him traitor.
That's what he said.
Yeah. But traitor. We'll call him traitor, because we know he's Indian.
Yes.
But he's not really supposed to be on our side like that. And then both of them looked at each other and they go, no, I'm just joking. You didn't hear that part?
No.
Yeah. We'll call him traitor in joke.
But not really a joke.
But not really a joke like that, because he knows that it's diverse nationality. Yeah. That guy's he's Hindustani. He shouldn't be working with us to try to violate you guys.
Technically, that's what he's saying.
Technically, that's what he's saying. right? You know, but you know,
He is a chicken.
yeah, like I mean, basically, you know.
So then he goes on. So then they go on like this. He's like, so then the guy, the guy, he's like, I'm not gonna write any tickets. He goes, my boy's gonna write some tickets, right? So I see the guy go in there. He's on the computer. 5 minutes goes by. I'm like, it's like,
Do you have another name that I can put into the computer? Because other than this,
I said, no, that's my name. He's like, so wait, Omar Sharif El Bey, what is that? Which one is your last name? I said, well, Omar, right? That's my first name. Sharif is my middle. El Bey is last. And I started breaking down what El and Bey are. I said, you know, there's 5 families. These are El Beys, Beys, whatever. And I said, this one. He said, I said, so you don't have another name to give me? I said, no. I said, go write up the tickets. So then he's like, I see him go back to the car, right?
Right now, case in point, the ownership is in the name of the temple. So when they punched that up, because we had our little issue, was it a month ago? About a month ago?
No, it's like
How long ago
3
was
months
that?
ago, 4 months
That
ago.
long?
We were here. Oh, you didn't hear about that. That was like a month. When we were here for the cleaning.
Yeah, we were here.
No, because remember, we were here for the cleaning when? Oh, that would have been what, March? No.
That would have been like
May.
May or so,
No,
maybe
May.
April. Maybe
April.
April.
I remember it was not
Maybe
long.
April.
No, I know, but it was definitely not.
It was in March.
Maybe April. But anyways,
Yeah, April. We were here for the clean, right? I think,
Yeah.
we were here for the clean, right? Because I
Yeah.
went up there to get cleaning supplies in the
right,
morning,
yeah,
and that's how it all started.
Yeah.
So what happened was we're up there, and this is nonsense. So I'm up there with having little plates, and they have Canadian Tire. They have these lanes for the curbside pickup, right? So I was going to get cleaning supplies here. So I went to the Canadian Tire, realized they weren't open. I saw that Freshco was open. So there's a big long lineup in Freshco, right? So I go over there, I park the conveyance. What I realized is I parked the conveyance. So they had these 2 little areas like this where the cars are supposed to, so they had pallets here. I don't know if you guys know what pallets are that you load stuff on. So they had a pallet here and a pallet here. The cars were supposed to drive up in here. So I had parked my conveyance here, so that the cars coming through, I'm not even in the way of anything, but I just happened to sort of be near where they were at. Obviously, someone took umbrage to the fact that I parked there. So as I'm in line, waiting, I see a policy enforcer pull up. And he pulls up right behind the conveyance. I'm like, oh shit. And Cujo and those guys are on the way. So then I call Cujo and I let them know that there's a policy enforcer there and that there's going to be some issues, probably, what I'm seeing. I said, but I'm going to wait this guy out because I see him there at one time, then I see him pull around to the front, then I see him out of the vehicle. So then Cujo and those guys are like, they come by and they pick me up and they're like, let's give it some time. He can't be here forever, right? I think you were here. You were here for that.
yeah.
So it's 10 o'clock in the morning. And
So about 11, we go back up.
No, it's 10 o'clock in the morning, and we're supposed to go back in an hour. As we're cleaning here, half an hour goes by, and I start getting this sixth sense. So I better get the hell back up there. So I get Rennie to drive me back up there, and as we get there, my conveyance is up on the tow truck at that point. So I jump out and I come over and I'm like, hey, what's going on here? He's like, well, what are these plates? I said, well, they're from South Carolina, right? So then we're in this battle. Who are you, sovereign citizen? No, I'm not a sovereign citizen. But this is right in the middle of coronavirus. Stay back 6 feet. So what do you mean stay back 6 feet? Stay back from me 6 feet. So I told you to stay back from me 6 feet.
Yeah.
So we're now in this big thing, but there's a real sense of anxiety because it's like he's about to pull his gun because I guess there's this fear that somehow if I'm too close talking to him that he's going to get sick and die, right? So we have this whole issue. Cujo comes up there
With
Tesla.
I think it was just Tesla out there. Just after we picked you up.
Right.
Yeah.
So because you guys came back up.
Yeah.
And then we're having an issue where the tow truck guy now is like, because he realizes stuff's messed up. He's a little European guy. He's like, hey, listen, if you pay for this tow, and I get the guy to let me drive it, because they want to know where we're at. So we're just down at the temple down there. He's like, so listen, if I talk to this guy right now, and you pay for the tow, are you okay with that? We've been there now an hour. Yeah, whatever the hell we gotta do, let's do it, right? He's like, you gotta pay for it now. So then we get there, Cujo goes, and I didn't have my my wallet on me.
Oh yeah, so prior to that, they're looking for identification.
Right, so I give him
Because I'm gonna pay. Okay, so where's your ID? What do you need ID from me for? Like, I'm just paying for the toll. Like, why do you need to know who I am to pay for the toll? Well, okay, give them nationality card. Well, we can't accept this. We need a government ID. All right, here's a health card. All right, takes it, goes back to the car. Now everybody knows health card is not ID.
Right, but he still took it.
So why are you taking that as ID? But then the stuff that I'm giving you, you're not gonna take that as ID, right? So
ID on it.
right. So they run the thing or whatever.
No. They run the thing. They have us sitting.
Oh yeah, they have us there for about 40 minutes, and he's just in the car.
But we didn't even tell you that. So we're in the car. So we're in the parking lot. This is where things get even crazier. We're in the parking lot, and so me and Rennie are over there. Tesba's over there, and Cujo's over there. The man has Cujo's ID, and he's in his car, and he puts his car in drive and starts doing this like a little circle, just in the parking lot.
The officer doing it.
Yeah.
In his conveyance. So I start going like this. So I turn my head, right? Because I know what he's doing.
Yeah.
He's using the in-car camera to try and film. So I see he's doing this little, like, bro, this is how fast he's moving.
Like he's going like foot on the, easing off the brake, not even.
When he's supposed to be running the car.
Right.
Right. So he's doing this. So he does one loop like that. I hide my head. Cujo's like, what the hell's going on? I tell Tesla, I said, he's looking to do something. Tesla and Rennie run like a bunch of, like, these are Moors that know that we better get out of here because stuff's getting ugly. Rennie's like, I gotta get out of here. But no, it's no offense. What do you mean?
Yeah, it is what it is.
This is wartime. These guys are messed. I'm out of here. Okay, fine, go. But like, that's not the problem. The problem is this guy is messed. So he does this one little circle. Huh? I know you did.
Yeah, because you were in the car at the time. Yeah. On the other side of where this was going on, yeah.
So he does that little thing, right? So he does that once, and then I get into Tesla's car, and then he does it again. He does the same thing again.
Well, he does it again, but then he pulls in front.
Right in front of Tesla, right?
Of Tesla.
Right. So
Tesla's car.
Right. So I'm like, Tesla, what the? Tesla's like, he's like, I gotta get out of here too, right? So at that point, then he leaves. So then it's me and Cujo just standing there. So then Cujo goes over to the other officer.
Well, before the other officer, so every time I go to the car, you wind down the window crack, you gotta back up or whatever.
I'm not telling you to back up.
Right? Like, bro, you're in a car. Like, what do you mean? I'm just standing here. What's the problem? So he's going about and the windows are up. It's not even like windows are down or nothing. So he's going on this whole thing. Oh, you gotta back up or whatever. Sorry, whatever. Then some other highwaymen come. So I go to one of them, like, so did he tell you what you guys are here for? No, we're just here as backup just to make sure, whatever. All right, go to the other one. Yeah, he tell you what's going on here? Like, no, we're just here, just backup, just for whatever. So you don't know what's going on? No, this is not our jurisdiction. Like, so it's his jurisdiction? Yeah, well, at this point it's his jurisdiction because apparently there's
what there was there's traffic, there's
traffic police.
They're just to let all you know, you see 60 whatever, 660 is traffic.
Traffic. So they can go anywhere.
For traffic.
So they can go anywhere. Like they're not limited in their jurisdiction.
By Division 24.
Yeah, Division 40 or whatever.
This is Division 60.
The traffic guys, they go wherever. Right? So they're like, well, yeah, this is not our jurisdiction.
He's lead man, and we're just here.
And we're just here as backup. Right?
So then what?
So after I talk to them and they're like, well,
we can't help you.
We basically can't help you. We don't know what's going on here. We're just here sitting here watching what's going on. So another, 20 minutes or whatever goes. Then he does another loop and then he drives and parks somewhere else away from and remember all this time the car is there on the tow truck ready to go. Dude just in the car just waiting. So we go to him. So are you leaving or what are you doing? Well, I can't leave until this guy says that he can leave because they're investigating something. What are they investigating? No, I don't know. He's just investigating something. So I just gotta wait. So Towman's there. Towman's paid, and he's already paid and everything, right? He's just there waiting.
So didn't you ask me, what's going on? He said, I'm doing an investigation.
Yeah, he said he's investigating something or whatever. I'm like, all right, whatever you're investigating. So after, because
Oh, but wait, just before that, just to add into this, that's why I'm saying these things are so layered. Before that, he's like, so do you have an ID, identification? I give him my right to travel card, right? So he's all messed up with that, right? He gives it back to me. Then he's like, well, how do I know that this conveyance isn't stolen?
same thing that the highwayman today said. Oh, well, you have those plates on there. We don't recognize those plates. So how do we know that this car is not stolen from somewhere? Oh, well, because we got ownership that says it belongs to us. Like, why would it be stolen? Like, why would you even think that it's stolen or whatever? Oh, so do you have that? Could I see the thing? So that's when.
So that was there, but on this one now,
Yeah.
when I give him the ID, he says, well, how do I know that this is you? I said, what do you mean, how do you know that this is me? I said, I have canon control of the vehicle. I said, I have the ownership. What else do you need? He says, well, do you have any affidavits that prove that you belong to this? I said, that's what you want? So at this point now, I'm thinking, oh my gosh, I gotta now try and hunt down because there was another more involved with the actual sort of paperwork behind the ownership part. This is back eight years or something now. Right, so I'm thinking about this. So he's now wanting me to find some kind of documentation. Now you know this, you have ownership. That should be it. Right? You got ownership of your vehicle.
Yeah, like what more do you want?
What more do you need?
After ownership? Like if they stop anybody out here, they want license, ownership
and your
and insurance slip. That's it. Okay, so we gave you the ownership. Well, do you have anything else to go with this? Because we can't accept this as being the ownership or whatever. Why can't you accept this as being ownership when this is the ownership?
Now, what you have to realize is this. What you have to realize is this, and this is where the thing becomes insidious, that the tow truck guy and him had already made a deal. It was already a done deal that the conveyance was going to be towed to here. So what he was doing with us at that point was something above and beyond everything. Because remember, he's not writing me a ticket. Because one of the things he said was that, oh, that was the other thing that I caught him. And this is what he said. He said, the people want you out of here. Because it's just up here. I said, who wants me out of here? I said, because not only is there Canadian Tire here, because that's where he got called from, I said, but there's Freshco. I said, there's the dollar store.
There's Rogers.
I said, I'm doing business here. What do you mean? Are you telling me that these other people are going to want me out of here? I said, because I'm giving finance out here. He goes, the owner of the property has said, I said, what, the owner of the property? He said, the owner of this whole place wants you out of here. I said, well, wait, if she wants me out of here, why can't I just navigate out of here? Well, no, we can't do that. We're going to tow this to the pound. Basically, he's threatening me that if instead of being mounty, he was going to tow it to the pound, and I could deal with proving to the pound who's conveying to it. So I shut up, right, again, because all I'm looking to do is get down here and clean the temple, right? Like, I'm not looking to fight this guy on some shit. Just give me my shit and let me get out of here. So that's how that all had started with why we were there. Because I said, you don't even have a right. This is private property. You're on someone's private property and that was probably
Then that was part of what the highwayman was saying today. That, oh well, you know, you're in a parking lot, so you could have your own plates in the parking lot, or have no plates, or have no ID, or have whatever. You could drive up and down this parking lot all you want and exercise right to travel. But as soon as you go out there on those roads, now you have to have a license. Now you have to have a this. Now you have to have a that. Yeah, right. I'm like, okay, all right. I mean, if that's what it is, all right, whatever, you know. So the Hindustani, all this time now, he's in the car while Omar and I are talking to the European highwayman, and he's explaining about, you know, well, he's different, and you know, he grew up in the hood, and his wife is Bayesian and all this stuff, so he gets what we're talking about, but everybody might not get what we're talking about. You know, you can't deal with that with us because, you know, like you were saying, we're just the robots. We're gonna do what we're told to do. We don't care what Canada says. We don't care what federal whoever says. We don't care. All we're doing is enforcing the codes of the jurisdiction that hired us to enforce the codes, right? When they, in order to give the tickets, they have to pull up something in the computer. Went to him to try to get the ID so they can have a name to use. because obviously they're not going to take the right to travel card information and put that in the system. One, because nothing's going to come up.
Yeah, he made a point of saying that. He's like, well, so if I put your name in the computer, and then, because that's what he said to me. He's like, so where do you reside? I said, I reside at my console. He's like, so what? If we're looking for you, I said, come to the console. We'll be right there. When you come and find us, come and find me there. He's like, well, we're going to need something else. He's like, my superiors are going to be very mad if we write you up a ticket and then we can't find you, right? So that's what the Euro's saying, while the Hindustanis in the car, trying to, in his conveyance.
Oh yeah, and the Hindustani was the rookie.
Was the rookie that he was
training. That was his training.
Training day where he's got the rookie sort of abusing the people, and sort of running the rookie through the ropes. He said, the reason why we kind of pulled you over because I wanted this rookie to deal with you. That's kind of what he said too.
Yeah, it was a training, like a training exercise.
Training day kind of thing.
Training exercise, whatever.
No, kind of messed up, right?
Yeah.
So then the Hindustani comes back out, right? I see him in there, like, what the heck? Oh man, what's gonna happen here, right? But the conveyance, everything's sort of compartmentalized. And then he comes back and he's, he goes like this, and he has my nationality card. He goes, I know who you are, the parking lot. And I, at that point,
oh yeah, that's where the people are. The highwayman said he knows who we are. He knows who Omar is because of the parking lot. Now, what we just got with regard to the
giving you the thing that the parking lot happened 2 months ago.
Right.
So with this info, the thing and that, I know who you are. Parking lot, eh? Goes yeah, you're parking lot. And I was like, what are we saying? Because at that point I didn't connect the two things because I never got a ticket over there either.
right.
So there's I don't know what's going on, but go on.
So with regard to the parking lot, so June 11th, got this email. Office of the Independent Police Review Director.
So we put a complaint against the first guy.
Right. Mr. Cujo L, 2530 Eglinton West. Dear Mr. L, regarding public complaint, Toronto Police Service, OIPRD complaint number E2020-428-1104041418. The Office of the Independent Police Review Director has reviewed your complaint and determined that it relates.
No, Junior, if you want to see it, you sure?
Office of the Independent Police Review Director has reviewed your complaint and determined that it relates to your interaction with Officer Eisenstein, number 11501 of the Toronto Police Services on April 24th. The OIPRD has assigned the investigation of your complaint to the Toronto Police Service. The Chief of the Toronto Police Service will be provided with a copy of your complaint, and a redacted copy will also be given to the responding officer. The OIPRD has asked the service to attempt to complete the investigation of this complaint within 120 days. Once the investigation is complete, you will receive a copy of the investigative report detailing the investigation that was carried out and the conclusions reached, as well as any review options available to you. The OIPRD will oversee the investigation and will also be provided with a copy of the investigative report. Any further supportive evidence or documents you wish to submit must be sent directly to the investigator assigned to your complaint. Should our office receive this information, it will be forwarded to the investigator. The investigator will be notifying you directly to advise you of the next steps in the investigative process. Your participation in the investigation process is considered essential. Where complaints involve allegations that are considered under Police Services Act to be less serious in nature, complaints may have an opportunity to resolve the complaint informally. This process allows you to share your concerns with and listen to the perspective of the responding officer. The process can build understanding on both sides, which is part what the highwaymen were saying today, that they know that there's elements of people who are classified under the sovereign, whatever, that jump out of cars, shoot police, and you know, every time you pull them over, they got something to say and they want to argue and whatever like that. Now, talking to you guys, we know that you're not them. so we can have this conversation like this, opposed to it being
Yeah, because he
the
said,
normal.
he made it clear.
Whenever we stop those type of people, that guys getting pulled out the car, guys getting dragged on the ground, and whatever like that, and that's how we deal with those people. But obviously you're not them, so we're not going to deal with you like that. But yeah, go ahead.
You know, what he said to me quite early in it when I was telling him I'm Aboriginal Indigenous, not sovereign, he said, that's why you're not lying on the ground in cuffs.
Right.
So at that point I said, okay, you know what I mean? There's always that element of the fact that they're letting you know that they're ready and willing to throw down at any time.
Mhm.
Well, not only that, they're ready and willing to throw down at any time. We kept telling you this, that the battle is not with those guys. It never is. I said, listen, I said, I'm long in the tooth. I said, if you wanted my conveyance, you're taking my conveyance. I'm not going to jail today. That's what I told him. So this is just again another warning on these.
Oh yeah, and then when Omar tells him that you know, I'm long in the tooth, where he's like, oh, you don't look too old or whatever it was. I guess now's not a good time to say black doesn't crack, is it?
But then he goes, oh,
indigenous doesn't crack. Indigenous doesn't crack. Yeah, we'll say indigenous doesn't crack.
Indigenous doesn't crack.
Right?
I wanted to add on to that.
Yeah, Mark.
Because he's saying 120 days to respond.
Yeah.
So is that why the chief stepped him down, or is that
Yo, who knows? Who knows? Doesn't want to deal with it.
60 days left, right?
Yep. Right. Participation in the informal resolution process is confidential and voluntary for you and the respondent officer. A senior member of the police service may facilitate the informal resolution process. Alternatively, the process can be facilitated. Yeah. Ultimately, the process can be facilitated by qualified neutral third parties or mediators who are independent to the police service and approved by the director. If you require more information about informal process, you should have questions or concerns about investigation, please contact us or whatever. Don't hesitate to contact me. If you'd like to check on the status of the complaint, find out more, please visit the website. Please use the complaint number noted above. Sincerely, on behalf of the Independent Police Review Director, Case Management Department, phone number, email address, or whatever. So when the highwayman came back now to the car, or came back from his car with the ID, this is what he was relating to when he said, oh, we know who you are at the parking lot, because of the complaint that's in the system under the registration or the ownership that he had from up there, which is the same thing. So when they pulled it up, it must have been that they saw there were no tickets on that, so there was no tickets today, right? And again, the whole idea of us being not hindered is based on who it is that we deal with as far as those highwaymen. But know for a fact, without a shadow of a doubt, that there's an element out there that has the same stuff that we have that are causing them to be confused, right? There's an element of Moors in Toronto who they have ID cards that don't look like ours. They have paperwork that doesn't look like ours. They have a way that they maneuver that has nothing to do with us, that they're looking at those people as, you know, well, anybody who has one of these or whatever, then we're going to treat them like how they treat these people. So it's imperative that Moors are dealing with themselves on the highest standard when you're saying that you're Moors. When you're exercising your right, when you're just walking out on the street, whether whatever, know that there are individuals out here who they have the same, just like the highway I was telling Omar.
That was orange.
He had they stopped somebody that had the same card like Omar's, but it was orange. The green part on the right to travel was orange, not green. Right? We don't know who those people are. We have no idea who those people are. But we know that they're not in here, or they would have the green one, like we have. Right?
Yeah, crazy times, but letting you know that it's still out there, but more importantly, how I started this off is that we really have if we're really serious about this, we have a duty to ourselves in a certain way to carry ourselves properly, but also it's about, as I said, because they were talking about how people will falsify their plates, people will use this, and this is part of where the prophet came into this, that you use the example about how, it's like, so I pulled a guy over 3 weeks ago or sometime, and he was driving, because I kept making sure, I said, I'm not driving, I said, I'm traveling. Stop saying I'm driving. So driving is corporate activity. That's not what I'm doing. Make sure that. He kept sort of acquiescing every time I would make that distinction. Stop saying I'm driving, right? But he was saying that he pulled some guy over who had a Quebec license and Ontario license plates. He's like, well, why would that happen? He's like, because you got 6 days when you're in the next place to change your stuff over. And he says, invariably, that's because they're trying to, what do you call it? Misdirect or to hide or to not allow you to figure out that they've been suspended here under the Ontario license. So that's what will happen. People will then, they get suspended here, they go to Quebec, they get a license, and they come back and they try and keep going. So Cujo was making the point, well, he's like, so if I had New York plates here, what did you say about that again?
Oh yeah.
So if I was here with some New York plates, you wouldn't be pulling us over and giving us tickets. You'd be letting me go. He's like, well, as long as on the computer you weren't up for murder or some stuff.
Yeah, something like that. Once there's no, what did he call it again?
Warrant, right?
No, he was making the point that that there's a connection between New York and here, that once they pull up those plates, it'll show them in their computer whatever, if there's any issues or whatever. So they don't have to stop them, they can just pull them up. But with us, they can't pull us up. They're not able to put our stuff in their computer and something come up.
Database.
Right? Yeah, in their database. Right? So when I initially got there, it was just the one highwayman. The other highwayman was in the conveyance. And then as I got out the building, the other highwayman got out, and then that's when we separated and we were both individually dealing with the highwaymen on separate things. But there was a common theme that their job is to enforce whatever needs to be enforced as far as the highway traffic or whatever, and that's what they're going to do.
And they're not coming off of that for nothing.
Right. That's what they're going to do. You know what I mean? Now, part of our thing also was the argument of, well, what if this goes to court and then it gets dismissed? Well, we're still going to stop you guys, and you guys can go to court again and get it dismissed. All right. If that's how you want to deal with it, then.
Oh, what did he say? Yeah, he actually said, "Oh, if I saw you again, though, because I'd hail you up, right?"
Yeah.
If I saw you guys again, I'd hail you guys up or something.
Because I know, because you explained to me.
Oh yeah, that's what he said. He said, if I went to court for you, because that was the point I was making. So if I bring you to court, I said, so let's do that. I said, let's not even have this discussion. Let's get the tickets and let's go straighten this out in court. That's where I sort of got to. That's where we were at right at the end. And then I said, so what happens if it gets thrown out? He's like, well, if I see you again, I'll hail you up. He's like, I'm not going to waste my time with you again. He said, but let me make this clear to you. There are guys out there that when they ask you for your license, when they ask you for your insurance, if you don't give them what they want, they're going to arrest you and they're going to...
No worries.
They're going to arrest you and they're going to tow your car. Because I just want to let you know that we're guys like this. He goes, I know a guy right now that if he pulled you over and you didn't give him a
license,
like within the first question, you're going to jail. So this, this is nothing new to us. This is why I keep saying, you're still killing us in the street, and you're still doing this stuff. So, I was talking to my sister yesterday.
Islam.
I was just talking to my sister yesterday. So we'll see you next week, Saturday, right?
Yeah.
What, running?
No, you got the fences up now. the real deal. You don't have the
Oh, yeah.
yeah, you don't have the little cap. Yeah.
What was I saying? So yeah, there are guys that would pull you over right away. So as I said, talking with my sister yesterday, she's like, well, look, they disbanded the police in Minneapolis. Let us make this clear. This is all optics, you know this, right? This is all the game. Until we are walking along here and it's movies and whatever, they're still in control. We're still talking about Canada doing something, or the US doing something, we're still in control. So do not get this twisted.
Any comments, questions, or so one of the Moors who came into the information through the jail institution. He wrote a journal while he was in there, based on his studies or whatever like that. He wrote a journal and then started putting out the journal to all the inmates or whatever. So he sent a copy of the journal. So we're just gonna go over that. Yeah, you can use that one. Yeah, you can use that one. Sure. Yeah, you can use that one. Yeah, nah, let's use that one. There should be some over there, but that's true. So the brother got caught up in something. He's been in there probably been in there about like 5 years, 6 years or something like that. While in there, came into the information, contacted us, got books sent, got things sent in there for him or whatever. Was studying and getting, familiar with everything going on. And he was looking at, well, what is it that he can do? Because it doesn't look like, based on how they're dealing with his charges and dates and parole and all this stuff, it doesn't look like he's going to be on any early release or whatever. So what could he do? So he prepared this journal called the Enlightenment Journal. And this is basically, it's like a 20-page document that however he gets it printed in there and distributes to inmates who are interested in anything relative to this. All right, so we'll just go through some of this just to put this out there. Those of you who refer to yourselves and who are referred to as Black, Negro, Nigger, African, Canadian, African American, colored person, or person of color, etc., this very important message is for you. Let's start with a quote from the legendary elder J.A. Rogers. Quote, Ethiopian and Moor were popularly used to describe the so-called blacks until the 1500s. Now from Taj Tariq Bey, the defeat and enslavement of the Moabite Moorish nation in the Western Hemisphere is the most secret history in all public literature. Both the history and culture is kept from the public consciousness as much as possible by the ruling colonial states and their European citizen subjects, unquote. The great Masonic secret that so many people have been curious to know is that the so-called Black people of the Americas were not taken from Africa and brought here. We were already here. There was of course Africans that were kidnapped and brought here, but the vast majority were already here and are descendants of the pyramid builders that built the advanced civilizations all throughout this hemisphere. This truth has been purposefully hidden from the masses, and the false history has been intricately instituted to hide the true history of the land. This is the greatest of all conspiracies. Quote, who controls the past controls the future. Who controls the present controls the past, unquote. George Orwell, 1984. The word Moor connects us back to Morocco and Mauritania, established in the 3rd century BC. But if you do a deeper study, you will find that the Moors are also Carthaginians, Phoenicians, Atlanteans, Moabites, Lemurians, Moors, M-U-U-R-S, etc. Here again is another quote, this time from Frank Tannenbaum, author of Slave and Citizen, The Negro in the Americas. Quote, but this adventure of the Negro in the New World has been structured differently in the United States than other parts of this hemisphere. In spite of his complete identification with the Moors of the United States, he is excluded and denied. A barrier has been drawn against the Negro. There is a book by Jack D. Forbes called African and Native American. And on page 24, it talks about the thousands upon thousands of Aboriginal Moors captured from the eastern seaboard of North America and classified as Negroes and blacks. I'm going to continue with some more quotes, case laws, and congressional records because I want you to be without doubt and totally clear when it comes to your true heritage and nationality before we continue on. Much information is to be found in the United States congressional records. There you will find all the information needed about who and what you truly are, as our ancestors Moor were an integral part of the formation of the United States of America and were the first nation to recognize it as a sovereign entity with limited authority before they were double-crossed and overthrown. From the Congressional Globe, House of Representatives, in regards to the annexation of Texas. Quote, the stupendous deserts between the Nueces and the Bravo rivers are the natural boundaries between the Anglo-Saxon and the Mauritanian races. There ends the Valley of the West. There Mexico begins. Thence, beyond the Bravo, begin the Moorish people and their Indian associates to whom Mexico properly belongs, who should not cross the vast desert if they could, as on our side we too ought to stop there, because internal conflicts must ensure either our going south or their coming north of that gigantic boundary. While peace is cherished, that boundary will be sacred, not until the spirit of conquest rages with the people on either side, molest or mix with each other, and whatever they do, one or the other race must be conquered, if not extinguished. Note, in this record, when Indian is used, it is speaking of the Hindustan people, who were an integrated part of the American land, as they too are aboriginal to the land and traveled back and forth long before modern European colonists. Today, even those who have been calling themselves American Indians no longer consider it politically correct or wish to be called that, the chosen to identify tribally, of which tribal names are family appellations of names of the same nation. Continuing on, armed forces use public and military transportation and detained in nearby military installations until a further course of action has been decided. Preliminary memo, Department of Defense. There will be many cities where the minority will be able to put into the street a superior number of people with a desperate and dangerous will. He will be a formidable enemy, for he is bound to the continent by heritage and knows that political asylum will not be available to him in any other countries. 1787 AD, assisted by England, Scotland, Ireland, Netherlands, France, Germany, Finland, and Sweden, the United States of America ended their war with the Moors, the Moroccan Empire, and signed the Treaty of Peace and Friendship with the Emperor Mohammed ibn Abdullah, Sultan of Morocco. This treaty can easily be found for your viewing purpose, and I encourage you to look it up for yourself, just as I encourage you to look up all this information and, of course, study it so you can know it inside out. In the case of the United States of America, it was recognized with a new corporate legal status. Franklin Roosevelt was part and parcel of the entire plan when he abolished the gold standard and created the New Deal. Federal Reserve notes were then used in place of gold-backed currency. The Great Seal of the Moors was used on the back of those notes. By reason of our social conditioning, it seems utterly preposterous that the old Moorish Empire could have an actual court of law legal claim in this country. Conversely, it appears that world leaders have been deathly afraid of such and have even prepared themselves to legally avoid the inevitable. Once again, the Moors showed themselves to be hardwired into the infrastructure of our consciousness as well as the historical paper trail. Black, Negro, African American, and African Canadian, etc., are names that allude to slavery. They do not signify a nation, and without a nation, you are not recognized by the family of nations as a member. Generate revenue, receive tributes, is absolutely admitted to the willing commission of genocide. So if they do this in the court, know that they are intentionally trying to denationalize you. Know that they know who you truly are, as most of them are Masons, Knights of Columbus, Shriners, Eastern Stars, Daughters of the American Revolution, etc. Most of them will play dumb and feign ignorance when dealing with you, but know with certainty that they are aware of your true nationality. It is pretty much only you that does not know. Before I go any further, I should address the Arabic issue. Many of us grew up believing we were Christians. So with the creed of Christianity still ingrained in us, it can be difficult to accept history from the Arabic perspective. That might seem foreign to us. But the truth of the matter is that the so-called black man, Moor, was the first inhabitant of the Arabian Peninsula, just like everywhere else, and the original speakers of Arabic. We are the original Arabs. The modern Arabs are what we refer to as the fixed mulatto race. Scientifically, no such thing as a race exists. By the way, there are only the Aboriginal people of the planet Mars and the other subspecies of human that descend from us one way or another. The original Arabs would raid what is now modern Russia for Slavic women to add concubines to the harems of wealthy Moors and would trade them around the ancient world as commodities. From the offspring of these unions came the modern or typical Arab of today. The modern Arabs treated their offspring with the Slavic women the same as they treated their offspring with the Moorish women. So this explains why many of the Moorish elite were mixed and are sometimes referred to as tawny Moors, Turks, and Arabs. If you take a studious look at the modern Arabs of today, it will be clear to see. Here is a quote from History of Slavery in Northern Africa by W. O. Blake. Quote, for centuries, all and well into the last century, the Arabs, a Negroid people, had been raiding what is now Russia for white slaves. Now let us clear up the issue of the proper names of the land. Northwest Amexem, Northwest Africa, North America, the North Gate. What do these geographical names, unfamiliar to most, have to do with the Aboriginals and the contemporary corporate states? For the sake of a reality check and a historical restoring update, these are the true archaic and masonically veiled names of the homeland and empire of the ancient Moabite Moors. Ancient Amexem is modernly and contemporarily known as Northwest Africa and North America, respectively. The cosmological name of the North Continent is the North Gate. Colonization and reconstructed history is at the root of the lack of familiarity of true world history and anthropology. During the time frame of the Declaration of Independence, much of the unspoken and uncommunicated history of this period involved the systematic subversion of the Union agreements between the Moors, the sovereigns, and the European colonial companies, the guilds. The Europeans used force of arms, the power of the pen, and their newly learned Masonic principles of government, and co-joined them with negative law to overthrow the Moors. The betrayal of trust led to the practiced Inquisition policies, which have become the institutionalized dead culture, corrupted politics that marks the negative side of North America's colonial human rights abuse practices. This includes land thefts, birthright thefts, color of law activities, and the systematic slaughtering of the Aboriginal people. The United States is a modern social and political order of government, which was actually founded by the Aboriginal Moors and a few honorable Europeans together. When researching history on our own, realize that when books refer to free slaves, it is for the most part a codified way of saying Moors. We were integral to the events that took place here, but have been written out of history in order for them to maintain control, in particular of the land and the resources. In my next journal, I will speak about how the birth certificate and other forced corporate IDs are instruments of human trafficking, and the lawful protocols to free yourself from colorable court jurisdictions, taxes, travel bans, charges in which there is no injured party, forced child support, extortion, modern slavery, etc. The rules of the Treaty of Peace and Friendship and Constitution must be enforced. Moors are law-abiding, but we do not recognize the corporate policies as law because they are not. Anything that takes away from our freedom to enjoy the fruits of our birthrights is not and could never be law. Not everything that is legal is lawful, but everything that is lawful is legal. We must study law as it is designed for us and by us from ancient times to modern times. We are the creators and originators of everything. The pretenders who have sworn oaths to uphold laws do not actually follow them, and they violate their oaths and they violate you. Moors do not use the names and the slave labels. Names are basically nom de guerres and for corporations, not natural people. We use the appellations and titles Bey, El, De, Al, Ali. Bey and El help with lawful status and jurisdiction and put you under the jurisdiction and protection of the Moorish nation. Thanks to all the elder Moors who've researched and helped me put together this information. Dr. Phil Valentine L., Taj Tweet Bey, Kudradwa L., Rasmariah Bey, Hakeem Bey, Salit Bey, Victor Taylor L., Tahida Ula L., Anna Ida L., RV Bay Publications, Morris Civil Letter.net, etc., and most notably, Noble Drew Ali. Islam. Say that again? Yeah, yeah. And then it was created so that one, because of all the issues that he was having with them with his case or whatever, he's figuring, well, since you're gonna keep me in here, then I'm gonna teach everybody up in here. And the best way to do that is not with conversation, but give them something in their hand. You know what I mean? And go from there. Right?
Well, a lot of times that you at.
You got the time all right.
Yeah.
You know? Any comments, questions? Oh, and he also put suggested readings. They came before Columbus, Ivan van Sertima. Golden Age of the Moors, Ivan van Sertima. Moors in America, Taylor L. and Ula L. The Lost Continent of Mu, James Churchward. Atlantis, The Lost Continent Revealed, Charles Berlitz. Stolen Legacy, George G.M. James. Black Athena, Volume 1, The Fabrication of Ancient Greece, Martin Bernal. Meru Netter, Volume 4, Ra'u Nephramen. Nationality Order of the Day, Kudrado L. Synchronicity and the Seventh Seal, Peter Moon. Montauk Book of the Dead, Peter Moon. Dirty Little Secrets About Black History, Claude Anderson. 100 Amazing Facts About the Negro, J.A. Rogers. Ancient and Modern Britons, David McRitchie. The Story of the Moors in Spain, and Moses is Akhenaten. Love, Truth, Peace, Freedom, and Justice, the 5 Universal Principles, Peace and Love, Brother Maurice Bay. Islam. And then also we want to put out there, anybody who has children and who hasn't heard, Mama Mocha put out her first children's book. The children's book is called The Otter and the Tort. Dealing with going to court for children. So, yeah.
Oh, you still on?
Yeah, it's still good. Yeah. Right. So if you want to acquire the book, Mocha's book, you could email canaanlandguide@gmail.com, and we'll forward you her order or your order, and she'll take care of you. Right. We wanted to also just put it out there again, the importance of our Savior, nationality and birthrights through Prophet Noble Drew Ali, and that now more than ever is time to rep for what Noble Drew Ali presented for us.
There's one who just wants to. I want to become a member.
Brother there?
I want to come next week, 11.
Always. Yeah.
Remember he used to be down there. Always. Right?
Yeah.
Oh, maybe you're not. Hello? Hello? He's like, I don't hear nothing. There's nothing there talking to me now. That ain't nothing. That's like
Only when wisdom's coming.
All right, more. All right. You have no time for it?
Islam. So we're just gonna put out there one of the articles again, Savior of Humanity, because it speaks to exactly what's going on right now. In this electrified age, men are racing into this life without complete knowledge of where they are going or what the end will be. When riches seem to be their only pursuit, to be obtained any and at any cost, anyway and at any cost. When selfishness, avarice, greed, and lust dominate their very being. When humanity in general is left at the mercy of those who have no mercy in them. It is truly wonderful and astounding to see one come into this mad human drama for the sole purpose of saving humanity, losing all sight on those things worldly and yielding absolutely to a cause higher than has ever been attained. This picture is the likeness of Prophet Noble Drew Ali, who is serving humanity, coming as he does with a message for the nations in somewhat the same manner as did Jesus, Muhammad, Buddha, Confucius, and all other prophets of their day. Only the things of this prophet's day differ from the ills of the days of the past, and yet the remedy for the ills of today is about the same as the remedies for the past, all turning about the pivot, love for humanity. Humanity must be lifted from the unwholesome depths of poverty, misery, and suffering, and placed on the solid rock of salvation. There are some who claim to do this, but upon investigation, one finds that they have slouched under the wings of their cross to extract from those who come to them means by which they can have the pleasures of this life while they point their followers to joy and death, to joy after death. Thank you. While they feed their sheep, they also share them while eating. At the course of their day, the master will be heard to tell them, "You have your reward, get thee hence." Rare is it that you find a real prophet whose mission is the salvation of the nations. The land is full of false prophets whose mission is to fleece the people. Oh yeah, you want to put out your thing again?
Only Moors.
Only Moors for gain.
Yeah, only Moors for gain. Don't be an OMFG.
Only Moors for gain. Only Moors for gain.
The time was and now is that there should come into the land a prophet in the likeness of his brothers to redeem them from sin and slavery. Truly, this prophet Noble Drew Ali is the man, bringing with him the message of love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. This alone can save the nations. Like the coming of Jesus, he does not come from the elect, nor the rich, nor the mighty in worldly power, but all power is given unto him to do good. This power is from Allah. It will be his works that will make men of every nation accept the truth that he brings. It will be through his teachings that the nations of the earth will understand the will of the Master. It will be through him that peace on earth and goodwill to all men shall come. It will be through his work that humanity will be brought from the slime of life and placed on the solid rock of foundation, of salvation. Islam. And we'll our Quran reading today is magistrate, master and servant, and magistrate and subject. Chapter 28 and 29. I don't have my little one on me right now.
71.
Master and servant, and magistrate and subject. Repine not, O man, at the state of servitude. It is the appointment of Allah, and hath made advantages. It removeth thee from cares and solicitudes in life. The honor of a servant is his fidelity. His highest virtues are submission and obedience. Be patient, therefore, under the reproofs of thy master, and when he rebuke thee, answer not again. The silence of thy resignation shall not be forgotten. Be studious of his interests, be diligent in his affairs, and faithful to the trust which he reposeth in thee. Thy time and thy labor being unto him. Defraud him not, Defraud him not thereof, for he payeth thee for them. And thou who art a master, be just to thy servant. If thou expectest from him fidelity, and reasonable in thy commands, if thou expectest ready obedience. The spirit of a man is in him. Severity and rigor may create fear, but can never command love. Mix kindness with reproof, and reason with authority. So shall any admonitions take place in his heart, and his duty shall become his pleasure. He shall serve thee faithfully from the motive of gratitude. He shall obey thee cheerfully from the principle of love, and fail thou not in return to give his diligence and fidelity their proper reward. So, for example, with regard to today, because of the quote unquote servants sort of doing their job, we didn't record them, put them on blast all over the place. Because it wasn't that type of interaction. It was an interaction that they were actually down with what we were telling them. It wasn't, we didn't leave with tickets, we didn't leave with car towed, we didn't leave with whatever, then we'll take that as, okay, fine, right? Not taking the master approach that because they're the servant, servant did their job, right? Probably shouldn't even been stopped, but based on how it went, all right, servant, we'll
Remember too, on a certain level, it was a learning experience for them, right?
Right.
On a certain level, though, I mean, that's where the teaching comes into it, right? We were forced to sort of take time to teach our students, right?
Magistrate and subject. O thou the favorite of heaven, whom the Son of Men, thy equals, have agreed to raise to sovereign power and set as a ruler over themselves. Consider the ends and importance of their trust, far more than the dignity and height of thy station. Thou art clothed in purple and seated on a throne. The crown of majesty investeth thy temples. The scepter of power is placed in thy hand, but not for thyself were these ensigns given, not meant for thine own, but the good of thy kingdom. The glory of a king is the welfare of his people. His power and dominion rest on the hearts of his subjects. The mind of a great prince is exalted in the grandeur of his situation. He revolveth high things and searcheth for business worthy of his power. Oh, Yasun, your stuff's in the back, huh? You don't, okay. He calleth together the wise men of his kingdom. He consulteth among them with freedom, and heareth the opinions of them all. He looketh among his people with discernment. He discovereth the abilities of men, and employeth them according to their merits. His magistrates are just, his ministers are wise, and the favorite of his bosom deceiveth him not. He smileth on the arts, and they flourish. The sciences improve beneath the culture of his hand. When the learned are ingenious, he delighteth himself. He kindleth in their breast emulation, and the glory of his kingdom is exalted by the laborers. The spirit of the merchant who extendeth his commerce, the skill of the farmer who enricheth his lands, the ingenuity of the artist, the improvements of the scholar, all these he honoreth with his favor, or rewardeth with his bounty. He planteth new colonies, he buildeth strong ships, he openeth rivers for convenience, he formeth labors for safety. His people abound in riches, and the strength of his kingdom increaseth. He frameth his statutes with equity and wisdom. His subjects enjoy the fruits of their labor in security, and their happiness consists in the observance of the law. He foundeth his judgments on the principles of mercy, but in punishment of offenders he is strict and impartial. His ears are open to the complaints of his subjects. He restraineth the hands of their oppressors, and he delivereth them from their tyranny. His people therefore look to him as father, with reverence and love. They consider him as the guardian of all they enjoy. Their affection unto him beggeth in the breast and love of the public. The security of their happiness is the object of his care. No murmurs against him arise in their hearts. The machinations of his enemies endanger not the state. His subjects are faithful and firm in his cause. They stand in his defense as a wall of brass. The army of a tyrant fleeth before them, as chaff before the wind. Security and peace bless the dwelling of his people, and glory and strength encircle his throne forever. Master and servant, magistrate and subject. Anybody have any thoughts?
This reminds me of where I'm working right now, the Saudi Arabian. So there's a 28-year-old, he's a foreman, right? So he runs like the work site, and he's never done a taping and wedding before, but for some reason this guy feels compelled to be with the brothers, the Morris, taking up the trowel and the mud pan, and he doesn't have to be doing none of this, right? But just to show that, he's down with the thing, he's taking up the, he just loves it, But before that, I got word that before that, he's never done any of that before, You know what I mean? So, the energy and more heat there, Just making me fuck on it.
That's love.
Being master and servant, like the whole perspective that you use with the posse forces and you guys being masters and then being servants, some people are so the power that they get, they abuse it, right? So you're saying master doesn't need to go there for servants, and servants kind of doing their job, right? This is the same thing out there,
Yeah.
You just gotta use your discretion, right? It's gotta know what they're doing, use your discretion. You don't have to be recording what you said and putting them on, yelling at them.
Right. Right, because certain activities would just put people in a, not at ease.
Yeah.
Put them in a stable position. That again, the highwayman was saying that majority of the people who they stop that don't have regular documents that they expect. Off the top, they're yelling at them. Before they get out the car, they got the window down. They're yelling at them. They're not gonna this. They're not gonna that. You can't do this. You can't do that. That's not the move. Because once you go there, then it's cause and effect. It's universal law. Right. Like on IG, they had a picture up with two people in the back of a police car. One was a European, one was an Asiatic. And then they're saying, let this sink in. European went into a church, murdered all these people. Black guy had his taillight out. Black guy's face is all busted up or whatever like that, looking all messed up. And then the European just in the back eating a hamburger, chilling. Right, eating in the back of the highway, that car. Right? So we're making the thing about, okay, well, what if his taillight wasn't out? What if his taillight wasn't out? Would he have gotten his ass beat? Probably not. Because that's why they stopped him. Because he was in quote unquote violation. All right, Mark.
No, you're just doing questions or still on?
Yeah, we're doing Q&A right now. Yeah. All right.
No.
Yeah. But like somebody said in the chat, it's about mastering the lower self. At some point in the memory or DNA, you harmonize with all these positions. master, magister, talib, servant, apprentice. Good one.
As you were speaking, I was remembering when I was reading the Black Thought Dictionary when I first came in, and I was just reading over the dictionary definition of more again. And at the end of the definition, it said basically one more is the equivalent of 100 English bailiffs.
Right.
Right. And I remember hearing that like a long time ago when I first got into the information, and it just makes me feel like knowing that I carry a different type of energy when dealing with the policy enforcers, because now after getting into the knowledge, I see them as just like intimidators or people of that nature, you know.
Yeah.
Like of course I still kind of get like a fear when dealing with them, but it's more or less like I'm only fearful because I know you guys are like crooked to the root. But at the end of the day, I already know that there's an inner strength in me that I just have to be able to tap and harness. And most times when you tap into that energy, it never fails you. You know what I mean? Like I've encountered several situations, stopped by highwaymen having to go to court, beat up the case. And I've encountered one time where my energy was off. And I didn't go to court and things like that, and then ended up getting like fined and all of these things, you know. And I immediately see the difference, you know. So it's telling that we just need to be able to like harness our inner strength, but it's there, you know.
Someone was asking about what is the process of taking up arms by way of purchasing and carrying as more.
Keep asking the same question.
I know. Because you think I'm avoiding it, but right. So one of the we got moderated. Right. So one of the things with taking up arms by way of purchasing and carrying is that just like everything else, they're going on. Do you have a license? That's where they're going.
We talked about the gun thing.
Yeah.
We got today. You said, well, if you're on the road with a gun and you don't have a license, then we got a problem with you.
Right.
But if you're on the road and you have a gun and you got a license,
they're not gonna have any issue. So don't look at taking up arms like you look at jump in the car and go drive, because they look at it differently, right? The concept of taking up arms is a right that the people have to do that. Majority of the people who do that have a license. The people who are doing that, quote unquote, they're in the street, so they got a gun and whatever like that, more likely they don't have a license. So there's certain things that the people are going to be expecting from you. So we would say, with regard to taking up arms, that you go talk to a professional. So we have Brother Jamal Bay at Rise of the Moors, that he's military and he has every kind of gun that you think that you can have or want or whatever, from Glock to automatic rifle, going up the list. He has every one, every type of vest that you think that he has, every type of armament or whatever that you can have. So for that particular question, go talk to Brother Jamal's, Rise of the Moors.
are you then condoning and suggesting people are getting firearms to go and walk the streets with? Is that what you're saying?
That he's telling you if you want to know, that's where you go get information.
Oh, go get information.
Yeah, get the information.
That's what you want. That's what you should go.
So that's what you want. You go to the professionals that do that. Yeah. You're not going to go and just do that because you have the constitutional right.
But within our nation, the prophet said, don't even carry a pocket knife.
Yeah. But the prophet also said, enforce the Constitution.
Yeah, and it's a part of.
So what do you say?
And that's a part of.
So now there's a contradiction.
No, it's not a contradiction. It's that you have a right to bear arms. That's just a right.
Firearms.
Yeah, you have a right to bear arms.
Arms, not firearms.
Yeah,
That's what it said in version 2 of our firearms.
yeah, arms. Right to bear arms.
Purchasing and carrying as orders.
Yeah.
You can't purchase, never say without a license.
And arms
Make
aren't,
your own arms.
and in the Constitution, arms aren't the thing at the end of your shoulder. So they're talking about something.
Well, it doesn't matter. Firearm is a form of an arm. So
It's an extension, extension of.
any arm, any
But
form of arming yourself, you're allowed to do.
But what I'm looking at is the qualification behind the
Arming
aspect.
yourself is just using your hands, then that's what you do. If you have to,
Wouldn't that sort of, wouldn't that, huh?
Even that, he said some people, I know people that carry like their hands are registered legally.
Well, that's what I'm saying, maybe that's what they were really talking about.
No, it's arms.
Oh, it's arms.
It's not even a fire. Fire is attached to the arms. Firearm is not a word. It's two words combined.
Right, so that's a compound word, right?
Exactly.
But what I'm saying to you is that within the dynamic.
So fire is the thing that is the action with the gunpowder.
Right, but are you shooting your arm or are you shooting a bullet?
So regardless of what you're shooting, you can kill somebody with your hand.
You can shoot a rubber.
Right, so what I'm saying is I'm just looking at, I'm just sort of walking down that path, because from the perspective of what I've understood from this movement is it's not about getting to that level.
But it's not, well, yeah, but it's not that you don't have the right to do that because we don't want to get to that level. You have that right to do that.
That's what we're talking about. We're not saying anybody.
We're not saying to go out there and kill people or go out there
We're
and,
saying what the thing says.
you know, we're just saying there's a constitutional right to bear arms. And if you are going to do that, not that you have to as Moors, but if you are going to do that,
Should, right?
it would be best to go to people who are professional at that. Just like, you know, just like with Rennie. He's a professional at a certain thing. If you want to drywall, talk to the professional. You're not gonna go talk to the guy who never drywalled before about drywalling.
It goes back to the beginning when we were talking about the cards that they're finding out with the orange thing on it.
With
The
the
cards.
yeah.
So it's like you're more, or you don't even have the right tool to work.
Right,
So it's like you have to learn.
right.
So from that professional guy growing up, you go to him, you learn how to use that thing.
Mhm.
Because you could have your birthright and nationality card, and I said to you, okay, that's your, yeah, that's my, and where you live. Right away you start telling me.
Start talking about Toronto and whatever.
wherever.
Yeah.
That means you have this birthright, but you don't even know how to navigate with it.
Mm.
So you could have a gun and or an arm and don't even know how to use it. So it's best to go to the professional, like you say, if you want to go that route to learn how to.
Or if you don't care, just continue doing what you're doing.
Yeah.
Right. Or if we say for example, there's Moors who their arm is bow and arrows. That's what they have as their arm. They might not even have a quote unquote firearm, but they got bow and arrow. Oh, for real? Huh? Yeah. You know. So just for the record, nobody's saying Moors go out there, get guns and start holding up people and all that stuff. That's not what we're saying. We're just saying that the right exists, just like any other right that exists. And if you're gonna go down that road, know what it is that you're doing. In order to know what you're doing, you're gonna talk to somebody who is professional at that. You're not gonna just go do something because you saw it on YouTube or it looks good or whatever.
It's all about energy too, right?
Because we agree. Like, I mean, Prophet said, don't carry a pocket knife.
Shouldn't be either.
You know what I mean? Because it's not even needed on that level. But, people do kick people's houses in and try to rob them.
Yeah.
You might be in a jurisdiction where that happens all the time. People kick in people's house. And everybody's house that they kick in, they never have any arms there, and they always get their stuff stolen. Guaranteed, if you had an arm there when they kick your house in, you wouldn't have any issues with people kicking in your house because they'll know what to expect. They'll know not to do that to that house because that house right over there, they got the sign out front, they got the stuff in the door, They got the stuff at the gate telling you if you cross over here, you're liable to get shot if you come here. So take your chances if you want to do that. And then whoever is going to take their chances. Brother Omar.
So I just decided to look up what arms, definition of arms. Distinctive emblems or devices. The first one is weapons and ammunition, armaments. Second, distinctive emblems or devices originally born on shields in battle and now forming the heraldic insignia of families, corporations, or countries.
Yeah,
So maybe
coat of arms.
So maybe that's really.
Look, it just said right there. It said guns and stuff.
I know, but remember we're talking about how they put definitions in there that aren't always the ones that you should really. Yeah, they want you buying guns, but really what it is really about maybe wearing your Moorish insignia. Maybe that's what it really is. Bearing arms. Maybe you're supposed to be walking with
Yeah,
your.
that's an arm as well.
That's as well on top of it.
Right. But
On
I'm
top
saying
of-
within the reference.
It's not going to discredit the other one because that's an arm too, brother.
So wait a minute. As I said,
They're both arms.
you seem to want to argue. I'm just saying that we're putting out the fact that there can be different definitions to that, and it's not always the first one that maybe we have to, because that's the one that we're accepting. Because to me, maybe that's really where it's at. And maybe if we're all flying our colors, that's really what the right is. On a certain level, just putting it up.
On a level,
I'm not saying that you should be having your 9 on your shoulder or on your hip or whatever, but I'm saying it's funny that the second definition is the fact that you're flying your colors.
Yeah.
So you can have the scimitar too with the more Georgia on too. Right? The scimitar, you don't have the sure. You say that their arms right with the coat and the insignia.
No, what I'm saying, to me, what this is saying, I'll just read it again.
Yeah.
It's saying distinctive emblems. Distinctive emblems, which I guess would be, the Moorish star,
What you have on.
or devices originally born, which is on shields in battle, now forming the heraldic insignia of families, corporations, or countries. That's ours.
So- Right. So
It
the
says in battle too.
so the people, the individual who sees the shield or the heraldry or the whatever, they
You have that right.
they already know that they are prepared for battle. Because that's the whole point of the shield and the armor, whatever like that, for battle.
Right, but remember, the battle, they're not saying isn't about going out there and slaying each other. It might be the battle going into a court.
Right, no different than if there's an issue with two Muslims, one says Assalamu alaikum, the other says Alaikum salam, so now we can sit at the table because there's going to be no battle, right?
Well, or more importantly, what you're doing is just establishing
Peace before.
or establishing what you represent.
Right.
Because it also makes mention to the heraldic. What's the heraldic? The heraldic is your lineage, right? So that's really what it's saying that you're bearing. Now, yes, you can bear it on a shield, but it can also be born on other things, right?
Any other comments, questions before we close out?
Talk about the watch. What's not the watch?
Oh, yeah.
Oh yeah. So next week, Saturday. What's the place called again?
Tommy
Thompson Park.
Tommy Thompson concert. Tommy Thompson. Hold on one second.
So what we're going to be doing is we need to get the numbers of all the children that are going to be in attendance, because we're going to prepare some things for them so we just want to make sure we know the numbers so we can create what we got to create, and everybody, all the children could get there.
So it's Tommy Thompson Park, which is at. Well, do we want to
Yeah,
do
yeah.
there, or do you want to do the? They have a parking lot.
Close by to there?
No, it's at Leslie and Lakeshore. Is where the Loblaws is.
Yeah.
The parking lot there.
No, so we can meet at the Loblaws and then we could just,
And then
Street
navigate
parking?
down, but, huh? Where? The
Part of
park?
the law is street
The
parking.
parking lot, yeah, but the parking lot for the Loblaws is like half a mile away from the park.
I know,
So really, it's, huh?
I know, it's not that far.
It's a 15-minute walk easily to the park.
Mm.
So, but there's parking right outside the park, which is on this dirt road. So for me, it's at 1 Leslie Avenue.
Mm.
But for me, I think it would be good for us to meet at the Loblaws and then navigate down there. I would think, because then we can show you where the parking is. But if not, we can, I don't know.
You can check if there's a map listing for the little dirt spot.
I don't think it would be like that really. It might be if you expand on some map, it might show you that.
Okay.
I wouldn't be able to describe
Yeah.
how that is. It's sort of right outside the entrance to the park. But the entrance to the park is just like a path.
Yeah.
It's not like a normal park.
Yeah.
Right? Because what it is it's really conservation. It's a park that they've
Mm.
turned into a conservation area for
Yeah.
the wildlife. So yeah, I would say to meet at the Loblaws. Do you have the address there for the Loblaws?
And then next
17 Leslie Street for what
17
time?
Leslie.
For 10
10:30.
10:30.
10:30.
To be leaving to the park for 11.
Leaving for 11, so we can start the walk by 11:30. By 11:30 or so. And then on the Sunday, we want to have the walks on Saturday.
And that's our summer solstice.
Summer solstice walk.
Honoring
Saturday coming.
20th. And luckily enough, as we know more, is the ones that are out in Montreal. It seems that these gates are happening conveniently on the so-called weekends. Not that any of us are probably in those kind of places, but it's on Saturday and the summer solstice. Well, actually, the vernal equinox is on Thursday. But anyways, this one, the actual date for the summer solstice is on a Saturday. So we're actually honoring the gate on today. What are we saying on Sunday?
And Sunday, we want to get all the complaints looked at. All the complaints looked at that we're going to be doing to the OAS.
So we'll be contacting those people.
So so everybody who has typed up their cause of action and is ready to go, we're going to be meeting up on Sunday between 10 and 4 just to go over everybody's stuff, edit whatever needs to be edited so we can get final draft done and get that sent out within that week following next Sunday. Right, so email will be sent out with regard to that. So Saturday is the walk, and then Sunday 10 to 4 will be just those who have claims that are going to be put in. We're going to be going through everybody's stuff, just editing, making sure everything is good, and hopefully trying to get it printed and witnessed and all that with whoever's here. And that'll be for next Sunday.
So no regular meeting next.
Yeah, no regular meeting Sunday. Only claim of cause of action issues or updates or paperwork. And of course, people who aren't in the jurisdiction, there's some mores that aren't in the jurisdiction that are put it in as well. We'll get with them on the day, whether it's by phone or video call or whatever, so we can check their stuff. And again, it's just making sure that it's just double checking everybody's things to make sure that we have uniform things going in from everybody, right? Islam, any other questions, comments? Islam. Peace and love to all the Moors. Don't forget, if you want Mocha's big book, you could email canaanlandguide@gmail.com. What did she say? It was 20, she told you?
20.
20, okay,
for,
so 20.
20 for,
Yeah, just 20. So 20, canaanlandguide@gmail.com. Send us your request that you would like Mocha's book, The Otter and the Torque, and we'll forward your
children's book, correct?
children's book, and we'll forward your contacts to her, so she can make the arrangements with whether it's PayPal or whatever. All right, Moors, Islam. Just close out. Five on the left, two on the right. Allah, the Father of the universe.
Father of the universe,
Father of love.
Father of love,
Truth.
truth,
Peace.
peace,
Freedom.
freedom,
And justice.
and justice.
Allah is my protector.
Allah is my protector,
My guide.
my guide,
And my salvation.
my salvation.
By night
By night
and by day.
and by day,
His holy prophet.
whose holy prophet,
Noble Ali. Islam.
Islam.
Islam. Peace, Moors.
Did you end up bringing my coffee? I left my coffee here, or is that my?
Oh yeah, that's yours, right? Yeah, that's yours.
Those that Sheldon's shooter online.